Hello, Lama from BakuDev here and welcome to our control settings tutorial. In this video we will be creating the system and the UI for savable control settings so your players can adjust their key bindings. This tutorial is part of our Steam multiplayer tutorial series, but the tutorial will also work if you only need the control settings. And by the way, on our Patreon you can get the complete project files including control settings, video settings, audio settings and the Steam multiplayer template itself. So let's get right into it. The first thing we will have to do is go into our input folder and create a new blueprint class, and it will be an input modifier that will be our mouse sense. So I call it IM mouse sense, like so. Open it up and you're going to go to the functions, override and go for modify raw, and in here we will get the player input, get game instance, and then we will cast to GI core and we will convert it to a pure cast, and then we can close that real quick because we're going to have to create a variable in our game instance. For that we're going to go into the core folder and create a new variable, mouse sense, like that, and it will be a float. Go ahead and save, and now we can go back into our input modifier and drag out of the game instance, get the mouse sense, and I will divide it by 10 because in our settings menu it will be a value between 0 and 100, and so the mouse sensitivity is not that fast. We will just divide it by 10. And now we're going to take the current value and we're going to break it. So we have the X, Y and Z value, and we're going to multiply each of them by our mouse sensitivity, like that. And we're going to make input action value of type, and the value type will be the value type coming out of the break node, and you're going to plug the X value into X, Y into Y, and Z into Z. And after that you can put the return node over here, and we are going to put the player input from over here into that, the value into here, and then we can return it. And that's our mouse sensitivity modifier. And to apply that we can close that over here now, go back into our input folder and open the mouse look, and in here you're going to have to open the mappings, then the mouse look, and in modifiers you can add your own modifier you have just created by adding it over here, and then you can save that. Or no, we can go right into the settings behavior over here, override and player mappable key settings, and call it mouse sense, just so we have it mapped. And that's that for the mouse sensitivity. And what we have done here with the player mappable key settings is what we have to do with our normal key bindings as well, because that will allow us to target the input action and change its key. So we're going to go into input action jump, go override settings, player mappable key, give it a name, I call it jump. We will open move, open each of these and go override settings, player input, and for W it's forward because it's our forward binding. For S we will have to do the same, it's backwards, or backward because I've written forward as well. Oh. That sometimes happens. You can fix that by just clicking in another field, and then you can save and will give no error. I don't know why that's happening, it's a little bit weird, but does not matter. And we'll just continue over here. A is the left side, so we will type in left over here. D is the right side, so we will put right into here. I'll leave the arrow keys unattended for now because it does not matter for this tutorial. We don't need to change it. but we now have our input mappings exposed with these names: right, left, backward, forward, and jump. And that's everything we need to do in our input mapping context. And now we can go ahead and create the settings menu for our control settings. So we'll go over here, search for widget, widget blueprint, user widget wg underscore control settings, and save that. And now we can start creating the widget. And we will start with a scroll box. If the control settings get too long, we want it to be a scroll view. We are going to change fill screen to desired. And into the scroll box I put a size box. Into the size box I put a vertical box. And into the vertical box I will put a text, like so. Call it control settings, like so. I will also take the text and align it to center. Perfect. I'll save. And now we are going to take another vertical box, put it into this vertical box, also use the text again, like that. And I will call this mouse sensitivity, like that. And I'll adjust the size a little bit, center that also, like so. Compile, save. And now we're going to add a spin box into the vertical box, like that. And minimum maximum value, we will enable that, and the maximum value should be 100 because, as said, that's where the setting range is. And I'll set the default value to 50, but that does not really matter because it's going to be taken out of the save file anyways. So we can now continue by adding another text into our vertical box, and that will be our movement. What font size have I taken here? 24, so it looks a little bit nicer. Center that as well, like so. And now we're going to take a horizontal box, put it into a vertical box, take a text block like that, and we are going to put that to fill 0.5, and we're going to take a input key selector and put it right next to our text, and for that we're going to put it on fill also 0.5. Don't worry if it's overflowing in the actual settings menu, it will be not overflowing. And just compile, save, and we can duplicate that as many times as we have inputs. We've got jump, we've got forwards, backwards, left, right. So we've got these, and that will be forward. Second one will be backwards. Third one will be left, right, and jump, like so. And then we can save, and we are going to turn these inputs selectors into a variable, so name it is underscore forward is variable, is underscore backwards variable, and left is a variable as well, right is a variable, and last but not least, jump is a variable as well. And that's the control settings menu basically. I will now insert it into my pause menu. If you already have a menu, you can put it into your own one. The pause menu was created in one of the previous episodes of this tutorial series. So we're going to put it right here and delete the video settings because that was from our last tutorial. And we can now see that everything looks kinda alright. You can obviously style it to your liking, to the aesthetic of your game. But if we now go ahead and start the game in our lobby level, and now I hit P, you can see I've got the slider here. I can input my keys, but it does not change anything, and I'm now moving my mouse, but it does not work, and that's simply because if we go into our game instance and go to mouse sense, I would recommend to put a default value of 1 over here. And if we now go back, we can actually move it, move with our mouse, which means the modifier actually works, which is nice. So we can now go into our game instance and we are going to create some functions. First of all, we're going to get control save, and second apply controls for control, and get control save. We are as usual going to try to load game from slot and call it control settings, and now check is valid with a question mark, because if it's not valid we're going to create save game object, and we have not created a save game for control yet, which is why we're going to go into our core folder, go into the save folder, create a blueprint class, save game, select and call it save underscore control. Save that, and you can go in here, create a variable, mouse sense, and float, not integer, float, compile save, and we only need the mouse sense in here because the control settings can be saved with Unreal Engine by default. So we're now going to go back into our game instance and select control over here, and once that happens we can promote it to a variable, call it control settings save, like so, and put it over here as well, because if it's valid we can cast to save control like so, connect these two, connect that, and then we can return, and we're going to return the control, not set. We are going to get the control settings save and return it, and now we can connect these. So that's our, no wait, that's not our get save function. We actually have to save the game to slot after we have created it, and we have called it control settings. So I paste that into here, compile save, and now that's the function. And now we can go over to the apply control function, which is pretty simple because we can just get control save and then get our mouse sense, and now we're going to set the mouse sense in the game instance. It might be a little bit confusing, but that's the mouse sense from the save file, and that's the mouse sense in the game instance, which is then used to control the actual in-game mouse sensitivity. And once that is done, we can go back into our pause menu, into our control settings menu, and then start by getting our game instance, cast to it, GI core, and convert to pure cast because it will work all the time, and get control save. And we can now, I actually forgot to turn the spin box into a variable, so just select the spin box, sb underscore mouse sense, this variable, save, compile, and now we can take that because we are going to set the value to our mouse sense, like so. Perfect. And what we are now going to do is get our enhanced input local player subsystem. I think it should be that. Nope. Enhanced input should be that, yeah. It does. It should not have a pin over here. There are two. That's the right one with only the pin on that side. And now we can get enhance input user settings and actually promote that to a variable because we need it later. Call it user settings, like so. Connect these two, and we can get active key profile and then player maps keys. That's what we have set up earlier. We want to get the values, and we're going to connect that. And what we're now going to do is create a for each loop for the whole values array, and we're going to break a key mapping row from the array element, get that to array, and now we're going to connect the loop body to that. And we can just get the ref, just the first index, because that will be the right one, and break player key mapping again. And now you have some actual useful pins. You can get the mapping name. This is the name we have set up earlier in the input mapping context, for example, jump, which is why we're going to switch on name and first connect this, and we're going to add a pin for default. Obviously it's normally there, and one for jump, one for forward, left, right, backwards. So we've got all these cases, and you've got the pin names over here, and these have to be named exactly how you named your mapping. So it's forward, it's backwards, we have not called it backwards, we've called it backward, left and right, and obviously jump. And you can compile, save that real quick. And what we are now going to do is to get the representing input key thing for the forward control, and now we can set selected key like so, connect that and put the selected key into, we can't put it directly into here, we have to get the current key and make an input chord, and now we can put that into here, and that's how we set the input key thing. Yeah, and we're going to continue with backwards, like so, set selected key. Just going to keep it a little bit cleaner by putting these together. Backwards, we're going to take left, and just copy and paste that actually. Now we're going to take right is next, and copy paste that, like so, and get jump. Copy paste, put it into here, and yeah, we can now start connecting these into left, right into right, jump into jump. And you can just use that and put it into each one because it's a switch, so it will loop through the loop. And when it's the forward one, the current key will also be the forward key, so you can just put that into each one. It will always be the right one. And that's that. We can now compile, save, and if we now go ahead and start, I hit P, we can see that it's empty, which is not nice. 1 second. Yes, but that's simply because we have to go into the project settings and search for input first and put the default mapping context to our IMC default. Go ahead and save that. No, you actually don't have to save. And then go search for user settings, and then you will have to check register with user settings under the default mapping context, and also under user settings you're going to have to enable the user settings, because that's where the bindings are actually saved. And if you go ahead and close that now and start the game now, go into the settings, you're going to see that everything is populated the right way. These are our current key bindings, but if I now change it to E, for example, I still walk with D, it's not E. And to change that, we can now create the logic to actually change it, and we will be doing that by binding to the event on key selected. We're going to start with right, on key selected, and you can go over here, break input chord as we have done it in the begin play, and you're going to take the user settings, drag out of here, map player key, and after that we can save settings, connect these two, and in arcs are going to be, no wait, we have to drag out of the key out of here and make map player key arcs, and the mapping name will be right, and the slot will be the first one. We have to change anything else? No, we don't. And now you can drop that into here, and if we now connect everything, that's that. So we will continue with left, and to make our life a little bit easier, I collapse that, just take it, copy paste. If you now put that into here, connect these two and change that to left, you're already done. Goes a little bit faster. We're going to continue with forward, copy paste, connect, change name, forward, copy paste, get the backwards thingy, put it up here, connect, backward, because we have named it like that, and lastly take our jump, copy paste, connect, and call it jump, and save. And that's how you can now input the settings. We can now minimize that, and if we now go in game, I'm jumping with a spacebar, moving like normal. I can actually, let me increase my mouse sensitivity. Oh, okay, we have not set that up, we have to do that in a minute. But if I now change my spacebar to T, for example, I'm now hitting space, I think you can hear it. And if I now hit T, I'm jumping, and that proves that the setting works. And if we now stop it, go play, we will see it's still T. So the saving also works, and works with every other button. I now don't walk with W, I have to press Z. So that works as expected, but as already mentioned, we still have to set up the mouse sensitivities. So we can go back into our control settings and get our spin box. And on value committed, we want to get our game instance cast to GI core, convert to biocast, get our control save like so, and then we are going to set mouse sensitivity, put the in value into the mouse sensitivity, save game to slot, put that into here. I don't know how we've called the string, so let me check in the game real quick. It's control settings, copy that, go back into the control settings, paste that into here, and then we can drag out the game instance one more time and apply our control. So the mouse sensitivity is applied, and if I now compile, save, and go back into my game, and now it works perfect. So if I now put it back to 0, I can't move. Put it to 2, I can move normally. So you could actually, if you remember, adjust maybe in the input settings, input mouse sense. If we divide it like by 50, it will work a little bit better, I think, because the range does not have to go to ultra fast. If I now put it to 60, it's still very fast, but not ultra fast. So I think a divider with 50 works a little bit better. But yeah, the mouse sensitivity will also save. If I now go like so, you can see it's still the same value. So now the whole control settings menu works. Everything is saved, everything works as expected. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope everything works for you as well. If not, don't hesitate to leave a comment and ask your questions, or join our Discord and ask me the questions directly. I'm nearly all the time there to answer it. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.